I want to continue this last tape. What was done to my family, to the Brits, to the Germans, to my mom and dad, and to my sons here, and to me. Um, she she was appointed ambassador, which I have had this on tapes before, in conjunction with my kidnapping, because her father continued it here in this country, because I was brought over here, and his father, his father, Joseph Kennedy, who was appointed ambassador to Great Britain, was did part of my kidnapping. So I've been an ongoing hostage. Now then, what I wanted to say here was, she's ambassador now to Japan. I'd like to ask here, too, has anybody considered what was done to Japan? What the Japanese suffered, and then there was the recent nuclear. That was really bad, and I wonder if anybody really tried to help the Japanese there. My point is that her father, Caroline's father, but really the grandfather, had a lot to do with what happened to the Japanese, and I assume, I don't know, but her brother John, so the kids know it. If John knew it in his George magazine, Caroline had to know it. The Kennedys all knew it. It's been a standing joke that they could kidnap the real monarch, replace my father and me with their own, which is Elizabeth and George, who allowed treaties that are illegally to be signed that allowed American military all over British soil. And the Americans used it as a launching pad for global takeover, which they have now. So this is when, is right after my kidnapping, thereabout, and the illegal treaties that war was declared on Germany and then the Japanese. So her father and grandfather played a lot more into their demise and into mine, into the British. So it's been a lie, the whole mess. The Americans went in there, supposedly, this is the tale they told, to help, when really they went in, why'd they kidnap me? Why'd they take down my father? So they could do exactly what they did. Use the British and take over the world is what they've done, and these are supposed to be the good guys. So it's okay to kidnap and torture me. I'm 75 years old. So what else do I want to say? I wanted to say I'm not feeling good. I'll go ahead and say it. It's cold up here, and I can't use the heat or anything because I'm allergic to chemicals, and God, it's a bad situation. But anyway, Caroline was appointed, and this is at the last, and I'm not sure anybody's even listening. She was appointed ambassador by Obama and whatever she had to do there to Japan. Now then, she came out with a tweet about the dolphins. And I asked, does anybody remember what happened to the Japanese? And do they care to know the truth about all that happened to the Japanese and to the British and to the Germans and to me and my children here, what was done to us and my father and mother? I guess it's the priorities, because here's the point, and this is at the last of it, and I've put this on prior tapes. John Kennedy, her brother, who later, after this event, his plane went down, and Caroline, his wife, who was a twin, went down too, and they both died. I think that was in 99, I believe I'm right. Anyway, prior to that, the first winter I spent up on the Appalachian Trail off of Mountain Pass Road in travel, near 11 miles from Roanoke, long way up in the winter to the Full Heart Knob shelter. And then I'm run from there, and it was a horrible living. And people knowing about it, and didn't want to get involved because they were afraid of repercussions. So it was either 93 or 94, the spring. It was before the new trail up to Full Heart Knob was completed. So you had to use the old trail. And it was up from Mountain Pass Road, and the Crawfords lived across. They may still live there, from the old Appalachian Trail off of Mountain Pass. That's what you had to use then, up until the new one was built in late 94, I believe. Anyway, it was the spring, and I had spent a heck of a time freezing and starving. And whether it was 93 or 94, the spring, they still had to use the old trail. And I looked up, and there's two guys coming with backpacks and look like they're hikers. They're coming up the trail. And I said when they reached the top to Full Heart Knob shelter on the trail, where I'd lived off and on and camped and was run and moved and starved and you name it, I said to him, I said, "You look like John Kennedy." He laughed and said, "Well, that's who he was." And he assured me, and he sure looked like it, and he introduced his buddy, and it's the guy that was always his close friend, John's close friend. Now then, I still thought it was a joke, and I'll tell you why. I had met a guy that was young. There's no way it could be Burt Reynolds, but the way he laughed and he looked like a really young Burt Reynolds. So I thought somebody was pulling a joke on me or something, that this looked like John Kennedy, but it wasn't. Now that I know it was, and after he left, I was pretty sure it was, I said to him, I told him what John Kennedy had done to me, and Joe Kennedy, ambassador to England, had helped kidnap me, and that I was living on the trail, and it was easy to see I was starving and I wouldn't be living on the Appalachian Trail. His words were, "Well, I came up here just to see how you were living." My thoughts were, if you came up here to see how I was living, and if that reason was to help, you could have brought me some food or offered some kind of help. He stood there and talked to me a little bit and said that, and he left with his buddy. So they had hopped on a plane from Boston or wherever, New York, I don't know where from, come to Roanoke, Virginia, and they had their backpacks, and they had come out and walked up 1.5 mile of the Appalachian Trail just to see what their family had done to me, and that was, and is, they had kidnapped the real monarch, Victoria II, me, and have committed every crime in the book, and it was to laugh at me. And now then you've got all the press in on Caroline, and she's ambassador to Japan, and all she had to do was tweet about the dolphins. And I'm sure when I put this on here, if anybody picks up on it, it will state something that I care about dolphins, I care about animals, I always have. I also care about the Japanese, and I care about the fact that this country has chosen for 75 years to deny me my name, to torture me and my children and my country, Great Britain, and my father and mother, and allow this traitor who should be tried before a world court to spend my money and my hell and help the Kennedys and company and the New World Order put me on the Appalachian Trail. And April Fool Day of '80, after writing the book, they filled me full of antifreeze, and I should have died. I had brain damage, and what happened to me there was hideous.